We know we are here tonight. We know that the headliner for tonight, the B star, the Dan Dada, run things for years, is Mr. Howell. Wesley Howell, his musical biography, history. Even as a small boy, Mr. Howell had a passion for music. Every Christmas, he looked forward to his gift of a harmonica mouth organ from his grandmother so he could make music. His uncle was a flute player, and as a boy, young Mr. Howell liked to play his uncle's flute, not always with his uncle's permission. So his uncle would hide the flute, and Mr. Howell would search out, find, and play the flute. With practice, he played well, and Mr. Howell started to take his uncle's flute to the church. He proudly played the flute with the church choir, and one day it just so happened that Mr. Howell could not find his uncle's flute. At 8 years old, he decided to build himself a flute. He selected the bamboo tree, cut it down, and made himself a bamboo flute. He ingeniously heated stiff metal called wire in a fire and used the hot metal to sear holes in the bamboo flute. He practiced his craft on bamboo flute for years, a doctor of the bamboo flute. Not much later, he graduated from his handmade bamboo flute to buying his first store-bought flute for twopence. His beloved grandmother saw his passion and helped him with his purchase. Fast forward a few years and he builds himself a bamboo clarinet. He again ingeniously made his instrument using molten iron solder, lead, and bits of scrap metal. He went on to practicing his God-given self-taught talent until he began to master the clarinet. In the mid-1920s, he was getting much respect and recognition for his clarinet skills. How were things back then, Mr. Howell? Back in the 20s. Nice time? Nice time. At just 15 years old, he was fortunate to be able to learn additional skills with the help from some older teenagers who were more advanced in music than Wesley. The boys played music all around the district, mostly at private homes and small gatherings. During this time, Wesley started to rent the use of a store-bought clarinet from an older gentleman in the district at 4 shillings. Mr. Howell then used this rented clarinet to play for events and dances all around the district, and Mr. Howell started to earn money from playing music. He saved most of his earnings, with his grandmother's help, until he was able to buy his own clarinet. In the early 30s, Mr. Howell practiced and played the clarinet in earnest. He and other young men formed a band. Mr. Howell became the band leader, even though he was the youngest. And under this leadership, they started to play at larger events and hotels, such as the San Sushi Hotel in Ocho Rios. It still exists. San Sushi is still there, mainly as guest performers with the local band. Same thing I'm talking about right now, trying to get more local hotels to have live entertainment venues because it helps local music. That's where it starts from. He used the money he had saved from playing the clarinet to buy an alto saxophone from Kingston. And without any outside assistance, Wesley taught himself how to blow the sax, and he played it expertly. His gift from God was to be able to hear a tune once and then be able to play it exactly as he had heard it on his sax. With his sax, he continued to play music in the hotels in Ocho Rios and Negril, including the beloved San Sushi Hotel. Mr. Howell caught the attention of well-known band leader Wiley Lopez. I know Mr. Wiley. Bad guitarist, Wow. His son Chris lives here too, I was going to invite him, man. See that? I wish I'd read this bio before. Mr. Lopez invited him to play at a prestigious private function. Mr. Lopez invited Wesley into his band, and after that initial Mr. Lopez and Wesley became a popular act, playing for the likes of Edward Seaga, the former Jamaican Prime Minister. His beautiful saxophone music captured the hearts and minds of many, including the love of his wife, Alma Howell. As a young lady, she was captivated by his beautiful playing and fell in love with both the musician and the man, Wesley Howell. Yeah. Mr. Howell went on to make music with various band leaders, such as Val Bennett and his orchestra, and musicians such as Ernest Ranglin and Lloyd Nibbs. He played in Kingston and all around Jamaica in hotels such as Jamaica Inn, Manchester Inn, Shaw Park for the grand opening, and the Court Le Manor Hotel. You remember all this one? Not easy. In the 50s, while playing music in Kingston, Mr. S.E. Nemhard, manager of a band in Cayman, heard of Mr. Howell's talented performances. He wrote an invitation letter to Mr. Howell asking him to come to Cayman, to come to Grand Cayman to play with Mr. Nemhard's band for 6 months. In his first performance in the Cayman Islands, Mr. Howell managed to mesmerize the audience. The crowd stood watching and enjoying the performance of the new saxophone player. Mr. Howell then poured out some stirring calypso music, and the dancing exploded. I can imagine. In 1962, after the Jamaican independence from England, Mr. Howell and his family moved to the Cayman Islands. He continued to work with Mr. Nemhard, often playing at Mr. Greenall's Hotel. I don't even know where that is. Playing mostly for Canadian tourists who were here for a week-long vacation, and also in local hotspots such as Club Inferno. Where was Mr. Greenall's Hotel? Where is that? Oh, that's where you used to own it? Yeah, yeah. I didn't even, I'm a newcomer. You're my bad. Learn something every day, man. Mr. Howell, also a shoemaker, supplemented his musician's income by building and repairing shoes. Mr. Howell's shoe shop was at that time located in a building owned by then Captain Charles Kirkconnell, just within steps of Hogstye Bay. I remember that. Between the old Adams Hobbies and Books and Miss Iris's shop across the dirt road from the Merrin store. Described it well. After playing with Mr. Nemhard's band, Mr. Howell went on to form his first band in Cayman called Howell and the Lynx. Band members also included persons such as Lambert Lam Seymour. Yeah? They played music in East End and North Side at the Apollo 11 Club. I played Apollo too. Yeah, I was there, don't worry. I was. Oh. After playing with Howell and the Lynx, Mr. Howell joined the Caymanaires band with band leader and musician Bunny Miles, another musical icon. You see how this thing circles? Small little musical community, man. Mr. Bunny Miles. The Caymanaires band included members such as Charles Gregory, most of you know Greggy G, from Hopscotch, Lloyd Brown. Lloyd Brown was a drummer, right? Good drummer too, you know. Yeah, man. Cooley the Cool, George Wilkes, and Tabio Miles. The Caymanaires were loved all over Grand Cayman, playing from West Bay to North Side, even playing Saturday dances and barbecues at Pedro Castle. I was there for that. Mr. Howell went on to play music at the Contiki Party Boat, a glass-bottom thatch roof boat which entertained cruise tourists with local music, local food, strong rum punch, and beautiful water. This musical gig continued until the Contiki boat was swept out to sea by a hurricane. I remember that boat too. Over the years, many of Cayman's best and brightest musicians played with Mr. Howell, and he mentored many and inspired many more. That's the truth. Mr. Howell loves the Lord. He has played music in many churches, including the Church of God Chapel on the waterfront and the Newer Chapel Church on the Walkers Road. Mr. Howell was a proud member of the Cayman Islands Male Voice Choir, where he sang alto with the choir. I didn't know that. And also serenaded the listeners with his alto sax. I didn't know he was a singer, my brother. Mr. Howell continues to exercise his brain, lungs, and fingers as he plays his saxophone for pleasure. He has also remained true to his other God-given talent of shoemaking. He still works 5 days a week at his shop on Shedden Road and remains sharp as a tack at 103 years strong. Not young, strong. And the only thing that can be added to this was, when I was growing up in the 70s, my dad had a sax that you gave him, and you were teaching him sax. I remember this well. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I'd like to call on stage Minister for Culture again. If I could impose upon you, sir. I think you have a little story to tell. We had a rendezvous yesterday, an impromptu rendezvous. I was coming from East End taking the awards at the last minute to get them polished. And I stopped in Bordentown and saw my friend here. By the way, we go to high school, the Cayman Islands High School together. And so we were talking, and he said to me, I said to him, you have to come in, and Mr. Howell get me a award. Mr. Howell? Man, who tell you about Mr. Howell? You won't hear this story. Wesley, I hope you're ready for this. Honorable Minister for Culture, Mr. Dwayne John Seymour, is here to present the Icon Award, the Music Association's highest honor, to Mr. Wesley Howell Sr. Well deserved, sir.
Mr. Howell, it brings me great pleasure to present this award to you. Your son Wesley and me were best friends in school. And I want to say that my grandfather, who came here in the 40s, played music and was in a band with Mr. Howell, so it brings me greater pleasure. My grandfather has passed away. But Mr. Eric Edwards played in a band with Mr. Howell. So I'm elated to be on stage presenting this award to you. Now, some of the stuff that I told Notch yesterday, I can't repeat on stage. I forgot to say that. But the Cayman Music and Entertainment Association present to Wesley Howell Sr. in special recognition of a lifetime of consistent contribution in entertainment and pioneering the cultural development of music in the Cayman Islands. This Icon Award. Mr. Howell, congratulations, and God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, greetings. It's a pleasure to be here this evening, that I can use my mouth to speak through the mic. Telling you of my age, which is first of all, for me, I am 103. It's a pleasure to me at that age I can really use the tongue to speak a few words. There's a lot would like to read and I can never because they are wrong. Well, my dear audience, especially I'm asking the younger who is a fan of music, I'm asking him to join with who have gone, is here to assist them in building the musical association in Everly.
Good thanks, Mr. Howell. Good thanks.
I would give a little more illustration, but my age really don't give me privileges to stand up on too long. So I thank you all, and good night.
Thank you, sir. We would like you to do a little jam for us now with Swanky. Yeah?
of a lifetime. This will go down in history.